He says it's not a felony, but an act of love. Former Florida Governor Jeb Bush, whose name is rarely uttered in the media these days without a tagline about his possible White House ambitions, was speaking at an event celebrating the 25th anniversary of his father's presidency when he made a comment that even he conceded was sure to make headlines about people who immigrate to the United States illegally.
Yes, they broke the law, but it's not a felony. It's kind of it's an act of love. It's an act of commitment to your family.
Of course, Jeb Bush was talking there about wanting to earn a living for your family. Let's bring in Senator Ted Cruz, Republican of Texas, who's also no stranger to 2016 speculation. Senator, what is your reaction? I've heard a lot of conservatives criticizing these comments from Jeb Bush.
Well, look, I'm a big fan of Jeb Bush's. He's from Florida, I'm from Texas. We both are states that have dealt with a lot of immigration. And there's no doubt that immigrants come to this country because they're seeking a better world, they're seeking the American dream, and they're seeking a better life for their kids. And all of that is positive and beneficial. What isn't positive and beneficial is breaking the law to do so. And
he said it's not a felony.
Well, look, in my view, we need to be a nation that welcomes and celebrates legal immigrants, people who follow the rules and come here according to the law. That we're a nation of immigrants, we need to celebrate that. But at the same time, rule of law matters. And if you look at any sovereign nation, securing your border is critically important. And I'll tell you, one of the big reasons has to do with just the humanity of it. You know, if you come down to Texas and you see the conditions where you see photographs that are heartbreaking, of bodies of women and children left abandoned in the desert because they entrust themselves to transnational global criminal cartels who smuggle them in, who assault them, who leave them to die. This is not a humane system, and we need to solve the problem, secure the borders, and then improve and streamline legal immigration so people can come to America consistent with the rule of law.
Bush says he'll make a decision about running by the end of the year. There are a lot of, as you know, there are a lot of people in the fundraising arm of the Republican Party, a lot of Republican officials in Washington, D.C., who are looking for a white knight, somebody who will lead the party to the White House in 2016. They were looking at Chris Christie. Now a lot of them are talking about Jeb Bush. Is there a disconnect between those people in the Republican Party and the grassroots?
Well, listen, I like Jeb Bush, I like Chris Christie, I respect them both.
Sure, but I'm talking about these forces who...
You know, I do think there are folks in Washington who want to pick the party's nominee, and they inevitably want to pick a nominee who they think won't rock the boat. And in my view, from the perspective of a Republican who believes we need to win, and we need to win because the country's on the wrong path, because we're facing enormous fiscal and economic challenges, I think the only way Republicans win is to have a candidate who runs as a strong conservative with a positive, hopeful, optimistic message. That's the path to victory. And I don't think Washington elites are going to be very effective picking the nominee. I think it's going to be quite rightly a decision for the grassroots to make.
Is Jeb Bush a strong conservative, you think?
You know, look, that's a question for the voters to say. There were many things I admired about his 10 years governor of Florida. I think on education, he showed real courage. But you know, we have a political process where candidates, if they choose to run, can go out and campaign on their vision for America. And, you know, it's my hope everyone thinking of potentially running in 2016 will stand up and lead, will start making the argument, start effectively leading and making the case that we got to get back to the free market principles, the constitutional liberties that have made our nation so strong.